Light. But the new research shows people like the president might actually be setting science aside just to score a few political points, because the inconvenient truth is the planet has not warmed in over a decade. Rich Lowry calls those people climate deniers. He, of course, the editor of the National Review. Good morning to you.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Yeah, great. You just wrote a new column that says there's nothing sadder than a climate denier.
Yeah, Steve, we have pumped an enormous amount of CO2 into the atmosphere the last decade, about 100 billion tons, which for the layman watching at home, I just want to emphasize, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
It's about a quarter of all the CO2 emissions since 1750. But we haven't had warming in about a decade or 15 years. But you still have people like the president, people like Al Gore out there talking about how we need to embrace the science and fight this challenge of global warming before it's too late, without ever mentioning this key part of the evidence that we've been flat for 10 or 15 years.
Sure. So, and that's the whole argument here is, if you're going to pump 100 billion tons of that stuff into the atmosphere, and that's the stuff the climate deniers say is causing our temperature to skyrocket, you would think it would be 900 degrees right now on planet Earth, but instead, over the last 15 years or so, you know, we have been flat temperature.
Correct. You'd expect to see a steady trend upwards. And what this suggests is not that the basic theory is flawed. All things being equal, you get CO2 in the atmosphere, it's going to create warming. But that's the key phrase, all things being equal. They aren't equal in the climate. It's a fantastically complex system that we don't fully understand. So when they say the settled, you get more CO2 in the atmosphere, you get more warming, right about that. When they say the science is settled about these projections about what that is going to mean, that's completely wrong.
And I love the fact that, you know, as I said in the intro, it's an inconvenient truth for the climate deniers that the temperature has not gone up. It's been static for the last 15 years or so. But the climate deniers, have come up with some interesting excuses why the temperature hasn't gone up and it's been flat. Like, it's the clouds.
Yeah, well, you know, it might be the clouds, might be the oceans, might be all sorts of things. We don't know. My favorite example of this is a guy named James Hansen, kind of famous scientist at NASA. He's been the foremost alarmist this side of Al Gore on this question. 2009, he writes an op-ed about how coal-fired power plants are instruments of death because they're going to create so much global warming, all these species are going to go extinct. Now, he just wrote a piece saying, actually, the reason we haven't had so much global warming recently is because of coal-fired power plants. They put these so-called particulates into the air, which actually create global warming, which is counteracting the global warming, global cooling, which counteracts global warming, which just goes to show the science isn't settled. There's no reason to panic about this. Let's fully understand it before we crimp our economy.
Well put. All right. Rich Lowry, he's the grand poobah over at National Review.
Everything I know about the weather and climate, I learned from you, Steve.
Don't blame me. All right. Rich, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up